Nearly half of your waking life is spent somewhere you never physically go. Not the room you're in, not the place you're walking, not the conversation you're part of. Almost 47% of the time, your attention drifts inward, replaying, imagining, anticipating, remembering things that aren't happening right now. Which means that for a shocking portion of your life, you're not living in the world. You're living inside your head. And that matters more than most people realize, because your mind is never quiet. It produces thousands of thoughts every single day, fleeting impulses, emotional spikes, mental images, half-formed ideas that appear and vanish before you even notice them. Estimates range wildly, anywhere from 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. The exact number isn't the point. The point is this: your inner world is constantly active, even when you think nothing is happening. But here's the strange part. Most of what you think never arrives as words. Only a fraction of your thoughts, maybe a third, sometimes less, show up as an internal voice, the kind you hear narrating, questioning, criticizing, or planning. The rest of your thinking happens silently, in images, in sensations, in emotional signals, in intuitive pulls that make sense to you without ever being spoken. And that's assuming you even have an inner voice at all, because not everyone does. We tend to assume that everyone experiences consciousness the same way we do, that other people think in sentences, hear themselves reason, replay conversations, argue internally. But that assumption is wrong. There is no default way to think, no universal mental format. Human consciousness runs on multiple operating systems. Some people, roughly 40%, experience a constant internal dialogue. Their thoughts sound like conversations. They talk to themselves, rehearse scenarios, question their choices, narrate what they're doing. Silence for them doesn't really exist. It's just the gap between sentences. When they lose their keys, their mind starts listing possibilities. Did I leave them on the table? Maybe the jacket, maybe the car. Thinking feels verbal, structured, sequential. Others barely use words at all. Around half of people think primarily in images. When they search for their keys, they don't ask questions internally. They see flashes, the last place they remember holding them, a visual snapshot of the counter, the coat pocket, the door. Thought happens as pictures, not sentences. Then there are people whose minds speak almost entirely in feelings. For them, thinking isn't verbal or visual. It's emotional, a subtle sense of unease, a pull in the body, a shift in mood that points them in a direction before they can explain why. Their decisions often arrive as instincts first, right? Explanations second. Others think through sensations. They remember sounds, textures, movements, the clink of keys hitting a surface, the feeling of slipping them into a pocket, the weight of an object in the hand. Thought becomes sensory memory rather than language or imagery. And then there's a group that confuses almost everyone else. People who report no inner voice, no mental images, no internal sound or visuals at all. Their thoughts exist as pure understanding, concepts without form. They know what they're thinking, but they don't hear it or see it. For many of them, this realization doesn't happen until adulthood, when they finally understand that phrases like "picture this" weren't metaphors for everyone else. These categories aren't rigid. Most people are a blend. You might talk to yourself and visualize vividly. You might rely on emotion most of the time, but switch to words when stressed. The mind isn't fixed. It's layered, fluid, inconsistent, and deeply personal. Even within the same style, the differences are extreme. Ask people to close their eyes and imagine an apple. Some will see it as clearly as if it were physically there. Color, shine, texture, shadows. They can rotate it, zoom in, change the lighting. Others see a faint outline, blurry and unstable. Some see nothing at all, only the idea of an apple without an image attached. This isn't imagination in the creative sense. It's how consciousness renders information. And these differences shape everything: how we learn, how we communicate, how we misunderstand each other. You explain something with words, but the other person needs a picture. You give verbal directions, but their mind wants a map. Teachers speak linearly, while some students only understand spatially. We assume we're speaking the same language. Often, we're not even using the same mental tools. It goes even deeper. Most people can replay music in their head with surprising accuracy. Some hear it so vividly, it's nearly indistinguishable from actual sound. Many can internally imitate voices they could never physically produce, accents, pitches, characters, tones, as if their mind has access to a limitless voice actor. Others experience phantom sensations. They imagine touching cold metal and feel a faint chill. They think of velvet and sense texture. They watch someone get hurt and physically recoil, feeling a shadow of the pain themselves. Interestingly, people who experience this kind of sensory imagination tend to score higher in emotional empathy, not sympathy, but the ability to feel what others feel. And then, there's memory. Your brain can be trained to think spatially, to turn information into places you walk through in your mind. This is the basis of the memory palace technique used by competitive memory champions. Not because they're born different, but because this method works. When ordinary people learn it, recall often increases several times over, sometimes dramatically, and yet almost no one uses it. All of this points to one unsettling conclusion. The way you experience reality, the mix of voices, images, emotions, silence, sensations inside your head, is entirely unique. No one will ever fully know what your inner world feels like, and you will never truly know theirs. Every person you pass on the street is living inside a mind that operates differently from yours. Different signals, different textures of thought, different inner landscapes. The only life you ever truly experience isn't the one others see from the outside. It's the one unfolding silently inside your head. And realizing that, truly realizing it, is both humbling and unsettling. Because it means that everyone around you is living a reality just as vivid, complex, and strange as yours. But that's a realization most people aren't ready for yet.